Hi, everyone. I hope you all are well. I have a few things I wanted to cover here. First of which, I wanted to talk about the Supremacy Clause in the Constitution. In Article 6 of the Constitution, it states that all debts, contracted, and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made, under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. The senators and representatives before mentioned, and the members of the several states legislatures and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. So in that center section there, the Supremacy Clause, where it says specifically, let's see, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. So, move on to the next. Notwithstanding. I'm going to define notwithstanding according to the lawdictionary.org. Notwithstanding definition and legal meaning. Definitions and citations. Literal meaning, irrespective of. The term is also used in the contractual sense, a statement in a contract that is used to highlight contractual obligations arising from multiple parts in the contract, which must be fulfilled irrespectively. So, just to understand what notwithstanding means, means irrespective of. Let's see here. Next, I want to address, as many of you all are aware, it's been going around a lot lately. People have been talking about it a lot. The Second Amendment to the Constitution. A well-regulated militia being necessary to secure to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I think that's pretty clear. That last part, shall not be infringed. It doesn't make any exceptions whatsoever. So keep that in mind. This last issue that I had to deal with Michael Hughes and Ronald Welch, his office, being that it's his assistant, decided to pass fraudulent documents regarding the release of a private trust property, which was, dare I say, quote unquote, a firearm. And so essentially in this case, they use this color of law action to infringe on the Second Amendment, on my God-given right that's secured by the Constitution to keep and bear arms, and that it shall not be infringed. I'll just repeat that part. So moving on, keeping in mind the fraudulent affidavit that was created by Michael Hughes with his own admission on the record, I want to bring to everyone's attention 26 U.S. Code 7206. It's fraud and false statements. Give me 1 second here. Let me plug this device in so it doesn't lose power. Okay. 26 U.S. Code 7206, fraud and false statements. Any person who, 1. Declaration under penalties of perjury, willfully makes and subscribes any return, statement, or other document which contains or is verified by a written declaration that is made under the penalties of perjury and which he does not believe to be true and correct as to every material matter, or 2. Aid or assistance, willfully aids or assists in, or procures, counsels, or advises the preparation or presentation under or in connection with any matter arising under the Internal Revenue laws of a return affidavit, claim, or other document which is fraudulent or is false as to any material matter, whether or not such falsity is fraud, whether or not such falsity or fraud is with the knowledge or consent of the person authorized or required to present such return affidavit, claim, or document, or 3, fraudulent bonds, permits, and entries. Simulates or falsely or fraudulently executes or signs any bond, permit, entry, or other document required by the provisions of the Internal Revenue laws or by any regulation made in pursuance thereof, or procures the same to be falsely or fraudulently executed, or advises, aids in, or connives as such execution thereof, or 4, removal or concealment with intent to defraud, removes, deposits, or conceals, or is concerned in removing, depositing, or concealing any goods or commodities for or in respect whereof any tax is or shall be imposed, or any property upon which levy is authorized by Section 6331 with intent to evade or defeat the assessment or collection of any tax imposed by this title, or 5, compromises and closing agreements. In connection with the compromise under Section 7122 or offer of such compromise, or in connection with any closing agreement under Section 7121 or offer to enter into any such agreement willfully. A, concealment of property. Conceals from any officer or employee of the United States any property belonging to the estate of a taxpayer or other person liable in respect of the tax, or B, withholding, falsifying, and destroying records. Receives, withholds, destroys, mutilates, or falsifies any book, document, or record, or makes any false statement relating to the estate or financial condition of the taxpayer or other person liable in respect of the tax. Shall be guilty of a felony, and upon conviction thereof shall be fined not more than $100,000, $500,000 in the case of a corporation, or in prison not more than 3 years, or both together, with the cost of prosecution. Next, I want to address Title 42, U.S. Code 1983, Civil Action for Deprivation of Rights. Let's see here. Every person who, under color of any statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage of any state or territory or the District of Columbia subjects or causes to be subjected to any citizen of the United States or other person within the jurisdiction thereof to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured by the Constitution and the laws shall be liable to the party injured in an action at law, suit in equity, or other proper proceeding for redress, except that in any action brought against a judicial officer for an act or omission taken in such officer's judicial capacity, injunctive relief shall not be granted unless a declaratory decree was violated or declaratory relief was unavailable. For the purposes of this section, any act of Congress applicable exclusively to the District of Columbia shall be considered to be a statute of the District of Columbia. Next, I want to read Title 18, U.S. Code 241, Conspiracy Against Rights. If 2 or more persons conspire to injure, oppress, threaten, or intimidate any person in any state, territory, commonwealth, possession, or district in the free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege secured to him by the Constitution or laws of the United States, or because of his having so exercised the same, or if 2 or more persons go in disguise on the highway or on the premises of another with intent to prevent or hinder his free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privileges so secured, they shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. And if death results from the acts committed in violation of this section, or if such acts include kidnapping or an attempt to kidnap, aggravated sexual abuse, or an attempt to commit aggravated sexual abuse, or an attempt to kill, they shall be fined under this title for or imprisoned for any term of years, or for life, or both, or may be sentenced to death. Title 18, U.S. Code 242, Deprivation of Rights under color of law. Whoever, under color of any law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom, willfully subjects any person in any state, territory, commonwealth, possession, or district to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured or protected by the Constitution or the laws of the United States, or to different punishments, pains, or penalties, on account of such person being an alien or by reason of his color or race, than are prescribed for the punishment of citizens, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both. And if bodily injury results from the acts committed in violation of this section, or if such acts include the use, attempted use, or threatened use of dangerous weapons, of a dangerous weapon, explosives, or fire, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. And if death results from the acts committed in this violation of this section, or if such acts include kidnapping or an attempt to kidnap, aggravated or sexual abuse, or an attempt to commit aggravated sexual abuse, or an attempt to kill, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned for any term of years for life, or both, or may be sentenced to death. Now, these are the laws that I have researched so far as the violations, what these public servants that I've put on notice now and have their admissions of guilt, I've put them on notice, and these are the laws that they have violated. And at this point, it is safe to presume, I have good reason to presume, that it was done knowingly and willfully, because these people are supposed to be trained, supposed to be knowledgeable in these types of documents and these types of forms and such. And for them to be passing fraudulent forms and fraudulent documents, that has to be knowingly and willfully, because they have a duty and an obligation to know what's true and what's right and what is not. So I could only imagine that in law school, one of the first things that they teach about probably would be affidavits, based on the fact that, as far as I know, basically every court case starts with an affidavit from someone making a claim or filing a complaint, or whatever terminology you want to use. Essentially, they're all affidavits. And that's what the court mostly goes by, to my knowledge, for court cases. And so this most basic of type of document being used fraudulently from someone who has a duty and an obligation to know better can only be willful and knowingly. So I will leave you with that as I uncover more regarding this situation, this experience that I've had, and getting a resolution. I will keep you all posted. But for now, I will say, hope you all keep your head up. It is definitely crazy out there. So you owe to yourself to know the truth, and let the truth set you free.